Welcome, everybody, to Into the Score. My name is Avishai Darash. I'm your host for this podcast. And Into the Score, we get a chance to talk to very interesting people about arts, culture, sometimes politics, day-to-day entrepreneurship, and the reality of being an artist also. And today I have with me the very interesting tattoo artist, Yoshi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Nice to meet you too. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming to the studio. We talked a little bit outside, and I told you that I want you to take me, please, from the beginning. What brought you to this moment? You said yourself that you did a bunch of podcasts, and it's like, I want to...
Well, I haven't done a bunch, but I had a few. So I guess, where do you want me to start? I guess there's a few crucial moments in my life. Mm-hmm. So one is, when I was 18, I moved to the United States. That was 94. And I spent 15 years there. And 2009, I moved to Amsterdam. So this is another 15 years ago. So that's the segment one and segment two.
Take me actually to what brought you to the States first.
Long story short, I was 18 years old, living in Japan. I was like a kid with like a punk rock, like playing bands. And I was finishing my high school, and I just knew where I could end up if I stayed in Japan. I was living like a little bit outside of Tokyo in this like a little suburban town, kind of boring. And I had a choice to move to Tokyo and pursue my music career or like, punk rock, or do something completely different. And luckily I had an aunt who lived in Seattle. And, I just took the opportunity, and I asked my parents if I can just go there. So I went there as a student in the beginning, but my studying wasn't really the focus of my overseas,
What was the study? What were you studying?
Just community college.
Just
to keep your visa.
Okay.
I didn't really study. I just kept my visa for a few years just to stay in school. But soon I was just, in the punk scene, playing music. That didn't go so well. I guess I wasn't meant to be a musician. I wasn't meant to be like a team member, Like playing music is like, it's a teamwork. It's a family. You need a singer, you need a drummer, you need a guitarist, you have to work together. And I wasn't very good at that. Now I think about it, And in the midst of it, around 98, I found tattooing. And that fit me good. I think because tattoo it's just you, it's just you and your customer. So it fit me better. Everything I wanted to do, it's under my control.
Yeah.
If I mess up, it's my fault, And I think music, playing in bands, it's a little bit different. You have to work together, you have to have a goal together. We do that in tattoo shops or tattoo studio. We do have a group, what do you call it, like goals, things we have to do together. But end of the day, it's between you and your customer. It's all you, and that fit me better.
Now, you found tattooing how? Were you tattooed first and then you were like, I need to do this? Or
I had a tattoo before I left Japan, but it was more like a home tattooing. I got tattooed by my friend from high school. Just like, with a little chopstick and like a needle on top of it, in the tip, and we tattooed at home. But it's a long story.
We have a long time.
Yeah. Well, what got me really into tattooing is, so when I was a punk rocker, we used to hang out on the street. And we, back in days in Seattle, like in the 90s, it was a lot of people coming in and out. It was a very alternative, like underground scene. So all day you're on the street, like hanging out with punk rockers, hippies, junkies, drug dealers, all kinds of people. And I just met this one guy, and he was a traveling tattoo artist from West Coast. His name's Jeremy Murray. And, we hit it off. And he was looking for a place to tattoo. And I had an apartment where like people coming in and out all the time. So he started tattooing in my house. And I watched him do it for like a few months. And eventually I got interested. And I sort of took it over because he was not really right in the head, and he was actually a junkie. We can talk about stuff like this.
You can,
Oh, okay. So he had a
please,
problem. So
please.
eventually he needed money,
Oh yeah.
and he
Which kind of
wanted,
substance was heroin or?
yeah, heroin mainly. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was doing everything.
Yeah.
I think he was a heroin junkie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to sell his stuff. He wanted to move out of Seattle. So I decided to buy it. I was kind of poor, but I had just enough to buy what he wanted to sell.
Yeah.
And I watched him tattoo for like a few months in my house, so I kind of knew what to do. So I bought his stuff, and he showed me how to do it like next day. And the next day I tattooed him after that, and then he left town. And that's how I started my tattoo career.
Huh. And that was like he sold you the gun and the colors.
Yeah,
and
this was
the
like
needle.
American tattooing. So we had a tattoo machine, like maybe 2 machines, inks, needles, like all the stuff you need. And we had like a ghetto way of like cleaning tubes, which is we had a pressure cooker. And we will clean the needles not needles, the tubes, in the kitchen, and you put in a pressure cooker, and it was good to go. Yeah.
And were you tattooing in this apartment, or were you just looking for a studio afterwards, or to work to be a part of, or how did what did it roll?
I tattooed there for maybe close to 2 years. Like I didn't really like have a intention to become like a professional tattoo artist. I was 22 years old. I was still playing bands. And I kind of had this attitude that like a fuck professional artist. I can do this here. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had confidence. So I did it for 2 years. But eventually, longer you do, you realize that you can't. You're not learning. Like by yourself. You're not doing good. So I ended up meeting like some tattoo artists, actually really good tattoo artists, and they offered me to come work with them as an apprentice. So after 2 years of tattooing at home, I joined them, and then I took apprenticeship, and I became like a professional after.
And how? It's interesting when you say I became a professional after, because when did you understand that you're actually a professional? That it's like I can call myself a tattoo artist, because you had this disdain of like artist, professional artist, this.
Yeah.
And then there was like a process, and then at some point you're calling yourself an artist, right?
Yeah, I guess line it depends on whoever wants to draw. Like when I was tattooing at home, like it was my job. I did it every day. It made my living, so I can say I was a professional. But once you become a professional tattoo artist in a tattoo shop, then you learn how to really treat customers. How you learn how to really tattoo. You learn how to be clean. Like you start communicating with other tattoo artists. So then you realize, okay, this is a real job.
Because
You know what I
basically,
mean?
yeah, for sure. Like if I if I hear it, if I translate it from my own perspective, it's like you were this like rural creator,
Yeah.
rural, and then all of a sudden you're part of a community, and there are
Yeah,
like rules, and there are ways to actually deal with people. You communicate with other tattoo artists.
Yeah.
They give you a mirror, right? Of like, oh wait, maybe I should do things differently. You see, like the hygiene is completely different in a studio, because all of a sudden there is like responsibility there. I guess if you were working not so clean at home and something would happen to the tattoo, what would be the response that you would get from people?
Well, I think that's the same kind of responsibility you have here. Like as a professional, you still have the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what's right answer for this, but I think that the kind of attitude from the beginning you have to have it. And of course, like when you start working in a tattoo shop, you have to learn how to do it right. You have to talk with the health department. So when you're at home, you don't know none of this stuff.
Yeah.
And you think you're doing like a good thing. But you actually you just don't know anything. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah, because you're just doing what happens throughout the day, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, this is this client is coming, and this, and were you charging people immediately already?
I did my first several tattoos for free. I tattooed my teacher the first day. Takei, Jeremy, and I started tattooing my friends around me. But eventually, I was making money. But you make like first like $20 tattoo,
Yeah.
you know, and then after a while, you start charging like a little bit more. Yeah. But I started doing it because I needed money.
Yeah.
You know.
And okay, so take me. You're going into the first studio.
Yeah.
Basically, you're being taken to the first studio.
Mhm.
How is the first week there for you?
Oh, that's a long time ago. It's like over like 20 something years ago. So I don't remember so much. But we are opening a shop, you know, and so I was there to not just to learn tattooing, but also part of promoting a shop. So I was on the street with like a little flyer, you know, like we're handing out flyers. I was building a shop with my teachers. You know, we had like 2 teachers after Jeremy. So these are the professional tattoo artists that got me a job. So we are there like every day, every night, building a shop. You know, so that was like our beginning. It was just making something, you know, making a home. You know. Yeah.
It's great because you became like an apprentice also of a business. To see a business rising from, let's say, the ground and being a part of it.
Yeah.
Did it have an effect afterwards when you decided to go by your own?
Yeah, I think you learn a lot. You know, once it wasn't my shop, but I built a shop from the scratch, and we were like sort of like a street shop. You know, where we are open till like 2 in the morning. You know, we had all these drunk people come in, and as an apprentice, I had to sit in the front of the shop. And like 6 months after my apprenticeship, I was already tattooing. And I was the first person you see when you walk into the tattoo shop. So I had to talk to everyone while I was tattooing. You know, and sometimes you get these like guys that are like drunk and, what like people like want to shoot up some heroin in the toilet or, hookers. So I learned a lot about how to deal with people.
Wow.
You know, like if I try to act tough, it's more like how to not take shit from anyone, but also how to make people feel comfortable, how to talk people into getting better tattoos, how to give us like look, we're good, like make us look good by just, talking good of us, talking everybody, about everybody else, promoting ourselves. You learn a lot about being like a front person,
Yeah, you learned like about hospitality, marketing.
Yeah, hustling. It's a big part of like an old-fashioned tattoo life. Now it's a little bit less. There's a lot of more like private studio popping up nowadays. You don't have to deal with like a lot of street customers, but maybe like in Amsterdam, there's more. So it's good to know these kind of things.
So you're getting into this business. For how long are you in this business?
Excuse me.
No worries.
My mouth is dry. I've been tattooing since '98.
No, but I mean in that particular studio that you went and started from the ground. How long were you there?
Okay, so it was a tattoo shop called Apocalypse Tattoo in Seattle. We opened, I think, 2000, and I was in a part of the team till 2006 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you saw all the experience that you had and then at some point Amsterdam came into the picture. How did this happen? Because you moved in 2009, so you say until 2007 or 6 you were there, so then you have a gap of 2 years?
Yeah, so after several years, I left the shop, and because I made a name for myself in the city, so I was independent enough. And, like the thing with like artists, I think is like every, what do you call it, like a little bird, like a chick, they have to leave the nest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is always a point where you have to like do things on your own.
Exactly.
So I left the shop and I started tattooing out of my apartment, like a private studio. And it was going well, but I had no more challenge. You know what I mean? And at the same time, I started traveling a lot to Europe. First I was doing like a lot of tattoo conventions around the United States. But when I started coming to Europe, like a lot of things changed in my head. Because Europe is more international compared to United States. America is big and you meet a lot of people from everywhere, but mostly in United States.
Yeah.
here, like first time I came here, like actually my first tattoo trip to Europe was Amsterdam, and then I went to Berlin on the same trip, and I came back, and it was like a culture shock. I met people from Holland, I met people from Eastern Europe, I met people from like Pacific Islands, like Tahiti, or like, and then I just fell in love with this like diversity.
Yeah.
So I started coming more often. So that was around 2005, a little bit before I left the tattoo shop, before I went independent. And then I met, when was that? Hank Schiffmark opened a tattoo shop in St. Tuban. I think it was like 2007. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But around the same time I left the tattoo shop, I met Hank. And, everybody knows Hank, and I met him. And, we just clicked really well. So I started coming more often. And eventually, he told me he's going to open a tattoo museum in Amsterdam. And that happened in 2010. So when he invited me to come to Amsterdam, it was the time he was planning. It was
Is it the one next to Waterlooplein? The tattoo museum?
No, this was right in front of the Artist Zoo.
Okay.
It was on, and it was only open for 1 year, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yes, we opened in 2010 or 11, and we had to close in 2011. But that's the reason I moved here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it because, why did it have to close? Why?
Well, I don't know if I should get into the politics of it, but
Please.
well, out of respect up to Hank, I wouldn't talk details. But
Right.
yeah, like basically what happened is, so we had this museum, and it was like a great location and great, like it was a big place, but the rent was really high. And after we built the museum, we ran out of like the finance to promote. So this is before the social media time, right when Instagram started happening.
Right.
I think maybe if you did it now, maybe you didn't need so much, like a promotion, like back then I think you needed to be on like a website for like, travel guide, or you had to have like a little poster on the tram, stuff like this.
Absolutely.
I think was necessary. People didn't know where we are. So we stayed there for like 1 year, but it was like a very, very empty always. And eventually like they ran out of money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Did you learn something from that, like a substantial thing? I mean, because you saw
Business-wise?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's what I mean.
yeah.
I can imagine. I
Yeah.
can imagine. That's like you set up something so massive, and then all of a sudden, no one is coming,
Yeah.
and the place is empty, like you said. So,
Yeah.
how did it affect you with seeing that?
Well, at the time I was more heartbroken, because I was the artist. I was there to, do tattoos. I was very excited to have this opportunity. It was a great place. We had so many like amazing talents coming through. Like every day was like a experience of like lifetime. And we had to close it in 1 year, so it was like a shock. So at that time, I didn't really think about this whole situation as like a business entrepreneur point of view. I was younger too. This is like 11, 12, maybe longer, 13 years ago. But now I think about it, of course, you do have to look at things far ahead,
Yeah,
right?
business perspective,
Yeah,
clientele,
yeah.
building it, building a community around
Yes,
it. Yeah,
to be able to sustain at
yeah,
least,
yeah, because it's like you can have, you can build a golden palace on an island, but no one is gonna know.
Exactly.
No one is gonna know which island it is, which
Yeah.
kind of golden palace, and all this work. And I can just imagine how heartbroken you were, because it's like you. I assume you also put a lot of trust in him,
Yeah.
almost as a mentor figure, right? And then to see that fall apart,
Yeah.
that kind of, if I may say, like you
Yeah,
grew
yeah.
from it, right? You
Yes.
grew a
Well,
lot from it.
let's just put it this way. I'm very glad to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
I try not to focus on the negative. It
Yeah,
happened.
of course,
You know,
yeah.
like unfortunately it wasn't that long, but while it was up and running, it was just a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I was just glad that I was there to witness
Yeah.
it. It's just too bad that I didn't get to show it to other people so much. I think about like, what if it's still open now? It's 13 years from now. I don't even know. You knew about this, right? Did you know about the tattoo museum?
I didn't know about it,
Okay,
but
yeah.
I got into tattoos when I was in 2015. Actually,
okay.
I really, and it kind of took me.
But you lived in Amsterdam?
I lived in Amsterdam since 2010, and I
okay,
didn't
so
know
just
about
almost-
it.
Yeah.
Tattoos were always this like albatross thing. Like I'm like, I don't get it because it's like there is a desire that you put on your body, but then it's forever, So I was really afraid of it until I got my first one. And then it
You always
was
need
just
a jump.
downhill from there.
Yeah.
I was like, this one was the first. No, this one was the first one. Then a week later, this one.
Okay.
And then this one was like, basically, it was like 13 hours
Okay.
of work.
Wow.
And then this, and
Now you can't stop.
no, because it's at least for me, it gave me this like it's a full spectrum of self-expression. That's what I feel. It's like this control of I'm gonna put something on my body that I really affiliate myself with. Like this one, for instance, practice leads to perfection. I'm a pianist, so people think that it has to do with like me practicing, but it has actually it's very much connected to spiritual practice that brings you closer to God.
Okay.
And then after my mother passed away, it was in the same week, everything is like I put equanimity there, which is like I just felt.
What does it mean?
Equanimity is to stay centered in times of turmoil, in times of trouble, And then afterwards, I kind of built this sleeve. I understand it. It's one of the most beautiful art forms to express yourself personally.
Right.
And I can just imagine that like you want to share something so incredible as the museum, and then like, it doesn't work, but it doesn't mean, I think that it doesn't mean that it's not going to work anymore. Could be that like it just needs
Do it again.
to be revamped,
That'd be great.
Because tattooing, I mean, maybe it's because I'm echo chambered in that sense. I feel like everybody's getting a tattoo. Everybody loves it.
Yeah.
So who knows? But let's get back to, so basically this initiative is closing up, 2011, right?
11, 12. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm bad with numbers. But I think
No
it was
worries.
11 or 12, yeah.
And then what is happening with Yushi?
Well, I was heartbroken. I stayed in Amsterdam for like 6 months, almost like a year. We closed in December, and I think I stayed till September. And I went to Ibiza. I had a friend in Ibiza. I just stayed there for like a few months. I thought maybe that'll cheer up my mind, But actually, it was like the worst place to go. Because
Why?
if you're in a good mood, Ibiza, you can party, you can have a good time. But like, I wasn't in a good mood, and I just couldn't do it. Like I couldn't do this party thing. So I was in a bad mood. Like I found myself in the middle of the party, like sitting by myself, and like drugs, did me even worse.
Yeah.
So eventually, I was just like, I have to get out of here. So I went back to Japan for a couple months. I have a family there still. And I was just painting for like every day, at home, upstairs in my room, just trying to figure out what I was going to do. I had an idea to move to London. I had a shop in Soho. It was a really good tattoo shop. And they already gave me like a goal, So I was going to move to London. I still have my, I still work for Hank in his shop. And I have my stuff in Holland. So I came back, just to pick up my stuff. And I had to sort out my visa in England. But that's the same time I met my girlfriend now, which is the mother of my children. And she's from Rotterdam. She's a tattoo artist in Rotterdam. So I just went to Rotterdam just to stay, I didn't really know her. I was just like, okay, I go to her. And I just never left.
Yeah.
Since then, I'm still here.
When the relationship comes into the picture, all of a sudden.
And also I failed my visa in England. They denied me because I was a tattoo artist. It's a very conservative country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine they would have given it to you. Your
What
life would have been
happened?
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Well, I had an apartment in the middle of Soho. and that was a wild place. But I don't think it did me good.
No?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I can think of many scenarios, but after that happened, like Brexit, and all these problems that England have now, and a lot of tattoo artists actually left London. A
Yeah.
lot of my friends that used to be living in London, they're all gone. Maybe it's a generation thing. I'm getting a little bit older, but I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a what do you call it, blessing in the sky.
Yeah.
At the same time, my girlfriend was pregnant, so I had to stay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's like we in Kabbalistic, the Jewish mysticism, we say any type of rejection is protection.
Yeah.
It protects you from something that, like, we feel, oh, I've been rejected, something didn't happen, the visa, for instance, or I don't know what, the museum not falling through. But then if you look at retrospect, it's like, oh, it's really good that happened because it brought me the stuff I have now. So it's like perfect,
But like what doesn't kill you make you stronger.
Exactly.
I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're having kids, you're with your girlfriend, the mother of your children. What is happening then? When do you decide actually to just, I'm going to do it by myself?
Oh, well, that's also another few years from then.
Yeah.
So when I failed my visa in England, I was working in a tattoo shop in Rotterdam. This tattoo shop called Institution. My friend Errol, I don't know if you know him. He's a quite well-known tattoo artist from Rotterdam. He's an old-timer. So he owned the shop back then. So I started working for him with my girlfriend, and we stayed there till end of Corona. And because of COVID, the shop had to close. But it was already under ownership of somebody else. So it was time for us to, we're feeling it, like right around the time that Corona happened, we were already starting to look at some locations. We had, I was already there for like several years by then. And I was starting to build clientele around Holland and around Europe. So it takes a while,
Yeah.
So when I moved to Amsterdam in 2009, like I was nobody. I was doing very well in Seattle, but all of a sudden you go to, somebody to like zero,
Yeah.
like a 0 followers on Instagram nowadays,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you lose your account or something like that.
Exactly.
So you find yourself like
It's a good analogy.
yeah. So it took me like 10 years. Now I'm here for 15. So like 10 years at least to feel comfortable.
Wow.
So this was around, I would say, my 7th, 8th year that me and my girlfriend was starting to look around some locations, But then lockdown happened. So that kind of idea didn't really go. But unfortunately, the shop had to close. But this event actually made us have to find a place because we had no more place to work. So like I gathered up 2 other friends from our shop, 2 girls, and we opened our own studio. That's what we have now. It's called Black and Gold Tattoo.
Yeah. And just take me, because I'm so curious about these like personal trivials, that we're going through, like these personal, let's say, confrontations that we have. You're moving out of Seattle, you're someone, then you're coming here and you're no one.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Well,
Because you're so skilled, you know your shit, but it's not
You
being
know you
like,
can do it.
It's not being like echoed, you
Yeah.
know? It's like, come on, man, I need to start from nothing.
But it's kind of like, are you a professional pianist?
Yes, yes,
What
yes,
kind
yes.
of music do you play?
Ooh, I do jazz, classical. I do a lot of Arabic stuff. I write for orchestras also.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm saying it because I'm asking you this because I had a position that like I was very respected and people were like, because they needed something from me,
Yeah.
And then I left that position and all of a sudden I'm a nobody.
Right.
And then I need to build myself from the ground. It took me with all the context, everything, I think it took me up to like more than a year. But I'm in the same
But
city.
1 year is short.
But it was like very confronting.
Yes, it is.
Because I was like, hey, I played in all these places. And all of a sudden I'm sending them a new project. And they're like, we don't care.
Yeah, they don't
It's
trust you.
Yeah, it's like, why did you, first of all, why did you leave them? Why do you, who do you think you are? And that's just.
Well, you can talk about how great you are all you want, but if they don't trust you,
Exactly.
you're nobody. So yeah, I sat in a tattoo shop, like, I mean, I'm not saying like, they're all bad tattoo artists, but like people in front of me, like, non-Japanese people doing like big Japanese tattoos, and then I don't get to do it, And so that was like really like ball breaking.
Wow.
Sometimes I'm in Rotterdam, like tattoo shop, and I'll just sit there all day. We lived in a tattoo shop, like Errol, the owner of the tattoo shop, they gave us a little space in the back of the tattoo shop, and me and my girlfriend lived there on the couch for like 1 year. So
Wow.
I'm there all the time, and I'm watching everybody else tattooing, and
Wow.
I know I can do it,
Yeah.
but no one trusts me.
Oh man.
So sometimes like I just couldn't take it. I would just grab a bicycle, I just like run, and I just try to go as far away as possible
Yeah.
from Rotterdam, and I find myself just like end of some like beginning of the highway or something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like nothing. I'm like, what am I gonna do here? I just go
Wow.
back. Yeah,
So confronting, huh?
yeah.
It's
That
like,
took me like a couple years at
yeah.
least. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get that, and then it's like a flood, Once it happens, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, but I've been here all the time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
but you also need to have that like almost like a shame, and a frustration. I think you have to use that as a fuel.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't like stay in that negative zone.
Yeah.
You have to be like, okay, then what can you do?
Yeah.
You have to work harder than anybody else.
Exactly.
So I started painting more. I love painting, so I always painted. But at that time I had nothing else to do, so I just paint. At the studio, paint. At night I paint, and then I started. I never asked for a job before until this apprenticeship. Even my apprenticeship, I was invited. So I never had to ask for a job as a tattoo
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
But I went to Antwerp to my friend's shop, and I asked them if I can work. So I started going to Antwerp like twice a week from Rotterdam. So that was like almost 2.5 hours each way, like from the door to door.
Wow.
The train's only like hour and 10 minutes, but taking the tram and walking.
Of course. Yeah.
And I did that for like several years, twice a week, going to Antwerp. And then I started going once a week. I started going once a month. Now I'm lucky enough that I only go when I want to. Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's almost like life is telling you, you want it. How hard do you want it? How much do you really want it? Are you willing to pay a price for it, or are you just like waiting for things to happen?
Right.
And that's, I think that is a big difference between greatness and mediocrity. Like greatness is paid by blood, sweat, and tears.
Hard work.
Because you say that you weren't having any clients, or no one was taking tattoos, but you were painting the whole time.
Yeah.
Because you need to remain creative.
Yes.
You have to remain creative no matter
also,
what.
people will see you doing something. You have
Exactly.
to always express yourself. Right?
You constantly like produce something, and did it have also an effect on your skill as a tattoo artist?
Definitely, yeah.
Because we talked just before outside about the the technique of colors, and I remember that one tattoo artist, it doesn't matter who, but from Amsterdam, told me the greatest tattoo artists, they can paint. They don't, because they understand colors. They understand how colors work. So that was my question to you. Do you resonate with that?
Yes, I think color is not the only thing. Like, I think what he meant is like, so greatest tattoo artist, of course, has to paint, because, tattooing is, it's on the person. You cannot make mistake. Therefore, there is a limit of experimentation you should do. Some people experiment a lot on people's skin.
Yeah.
But if you want to perfect your like tools, like your colors or your techniques, like your tools of your knowledge, then you need to practice more, right?
Yeah.
So painting is the one way that, you can mess it up. You can do it over and over again. You can do the same subject with different colors, So painting will get you prepared for the real deal. So the tattooing is the real deal. That's when you have to show your best. You know what I mean? So like you can't fuck up. We do, of course.
Yeah.
But ideally, that's when you show your best skill. So if you paint more, then you have more knowledge. You know,
Yeah.
okay, I shouldn't use this color, or like maybe I'll do it next time. You know, so painting it's necessary, I think, to what do you call it? Like explore your possibility of what you can do. Yeah.
And do you sometimes take also a plunge with doing completely different styles, like according to what the customer wants?
Like for tattoos? No, I don't. I only do Japanese tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of different tattoos, of course. You know, when I started out or when I
Yeah.
just moved to Amsterdam,
Yeah.
I had to do everything. you
Yeah.
know.
And when did it click that it's like, this is my niche? This is what I
Oh,
want
I
to
had
do
that from the beginning.
from the beginning.
Yeah, before I started tattooing, like you know, like I'm from Japan, so you know, of course, I knew what Japanese tattoo is. But the minute I started thinking tattoos to do tattoos, the only thing I had in my mind is to do Japanese tattoos. But you have to do everything else if nobody wants your tattoos.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you work in a street shop with all the drunk people coming in. Nobody wants a Japanese back piece. You know, they want this little stuff, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So I did everything. But
Yeah.
you just push your art. Maybe it's the same for you, right? Maybe
Absolutely.
sometimes you have to play, I don't know, like a Christmas song. So, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But eventually you want to, you know.
There's like the gig, you know, that
Yeah.
you get a gig and it's like, it's a gig, you know, let me
Yeah.
do it. Like we call it snabbeltje or like opdracht, you know, just like, and then there is like, this is my baby.
Yeah.
This is my baby that I bring. And it's more, I feel like maybe with, you know, I'm just talking about myself, but I see with musicians, like more compartmentalized. It's like, I just do this and I move on. But then when it's your own niche and your own
Yeah.
creation, it's much more like,
Yeah,
there
your
is an
passion.
emotional
Yes, of course.
like
Yeah, yeah,
connection to it. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure that you have tattoos that if someone will come to you, hey, you did this to me, and you'll be like, I don't remember that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like not something that.
Yeah, you
it's a
didn't
part of
put your thoughts into
Yeah,
it.
it's like
Yeah.
it was. I was just doing it, and you know, it was because I needed to pay rent.
Yeah. My friend says, give him a haircut. You know, you want to cut it like this, or I give it to you.
Yeah,
It has nothing to do with what I want.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself also sometimes? I mean, maybe it's like a different moment of your career that you were just telling people, I'm not willing to do this tattoo.
Well, that never really happens to me anymore because a lot of times people already know who I am
Yeah.
and they come for the type of tattoo I do. And a lot of my customers nowadays, they're very serious.
Yeah.
You know, they come from different countries and they already have knowledge about that, you know, tattooing, like tradition. So that
Yeah.
doesn't happen that often.
Yeah,
But in my, you know, like long career, of course, a lot of that. Like, you know, usually we don't tattoo stupid ideas. You know, if somebody wants, like, you know, like girlfriend's name, but they look like they just met, you won't do it.
Ah,
Or
really?
like a gangster
Okay.
tattoos for some little kid. Or, you know, back then, like we didn't tattoo faces. You know?
Yeah.
Now we do.
Now you do
Everybody
tattoo,
has.
okay.
Well, I don't, but you know,
Yeah.
now people do because
Yeah.
everybody have tattoos on the face. But we had all the codes. Those are like a codes of professional tattoo artists. You know, you don't tattoo pregnant women. You know, stuff like this. But things I don't tattoo for my own art's sake is that something. So I do traditional tattoos. So if somebody wants like a Japanese tattoo, but with a little bit of twist, right? Like some people might say, okay, I want a koi fish, but I want them like with like a European twist. Or, you know, some
Okay.
people, like some stupid people, some ask me before, like, oh, I want a fish, but I want to like cut like a sashimi. Can you tattoo me like this? And I say no. You know what I mean? I always say to people, like, okay, like you want a sushi, but you want to put a ketchup on it.
Yeah.
Try to taste it. Does it taste good to you? Like,
That's a good one. It's like Beyond Meat, you know. You want meat, you want vegan, just eat meat. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like hey, you know, vegans. You know, I'm with you. I'm just saying that it's like if you want it to be meat, get meat.
eat a meat, eat a fish.
Yeah, exactly. But so take me also to that decision of opening your own studio.
Okay.
Basically, what was it from a place of like, okay, that's it, we're gonna do it, or was it also like an organic thing that happened?
Well, so the COVID was, you know, like it's a heavy impact for us, you know, because we couldn't work for like almost, I don't remember, that was the first lockdown. So I think we didn't work for like how long was it? Like 3 or 5
So
months?
it was like 4 months,
Right?
Yeah.
And-
just 1 second, let me just get this.
Yeah.
No, you don't
Okay.
need to.
it okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, COVID was like, financially, it was pretty hard on us, right?
Yeah.
So we, like, although, and especially we lost our work right after the lockdown, so we needed to open a studio. So it was, it was not a choice. It was like a necessary. So it was almost like, okay, let's just open something, whatever. So we did find a place like in 2 weeks,
Wow,
and,
that's quick.
yeah,
That's
we got
really
wow.
quick.
Everybody was looking, like,
Yeah.
we just got lucky, but I guess that's also, we looked hard, So once we opened it, I guess what helped me is my experience of working at the tattoo shop in Seattle. Since I opened it ourselves, it wasn't me opening it, but like I was there from the beginning. Also, we did a tattoo museum. We started from the beginning. So I had an experience of starting a business. Also, when I tattooed out of my house twice, it's also I did it on my own. So I had a confidence. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, like tax or, insurance or, I don't know what else, health department, all this like actual stuff. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had a confidence of it'll be fine. So first thing it's important is like, are we going to make it, right? Before you think about all this, creative things, that's okay. But if you can't pay the rent,
Yeah.
there's no, there's no studio.
All the creativity is out the window.
Yeah,
If
you know what I
you
mean?
can't
So
eat.
are we going to survive? This Corona time,
Yeah.
lockdown, people weren't going out. We didn't know anything. So there was a lot of worry
Yeah.
amongst our team, We had a younger tattoo artist with me. So, I was the oldest.
Yeah.
But I had the confidence, like, it'll be fine. You guys are good. We're fine. And,
There's like I'm seeing a theme with you of like when you are there from the beginning, it really works. But when you get latched onto an existing business, you're not seeing. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You go understand? Like when you came to Amsterdam, they give you a job and all this. It wasn't like as affluent as when you started the shop in Seattle,
Right.
or you worked from your home, or now that you open now that you have your own
Okay.
studio. It seems like something very interesting.
I have a
as
pattern. I have a pattern.
The pattern, yeah. I mean, but it's an interesting pattern because it means that you are really an individual. It means that you're really like, you need to be there from the beginning
Yeah.
instead of being
Like a joining something. Yeah,
exactly.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So then, because this seems to me like such an interesting thing of you're opening a shop during COVID.
Yeah.
Basically, you found a place, you found this. How are you juggling with basically the 1.5 meters with doing something that is literally invasive to other people's bodies, with everything that's happening with the GGD and the constant change of policy? How did you handle that?
Well, I just tattoo, so I don't know too much about other things. And I have I'm fortunate to have a girlfriend. She does most of this professional stuff. So I guess she lets me just focus on art. I'm
right.
very good at I wouldn't say tattooing, but like being an artist. That's my comfortable place. I like to make things. And I prefer not to touch the business side. But I'm also I have an interest in like promoting myself. But not to like sell out, but I like to spread my art. I like the community. I like to meet other people.
Yeah.
Like you guys.
Yeah.
So I guess every team. I guess now I have a team, right? So now I'm not by myself anymore. But every team has a different jobs. You know what I mean? So my job was to be a tattoo artist and also to be the spokesman of the studio. you
Yeah.
know. And then we have other people who does things I cannot do. So I didn't have to deal with, all this as administrative stuff.
Yeah.
I did what I did. I had to be clean. I had to pay my tax, stuff like this. But yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
it's just tattooing basically.
yeah, that's great. I mean, because correct me if I'm wrong, you had a share in your past to know how it is from doing it legal, doing everything, and then it's kind of like you paid your dues,
Yeah.
and now you're just like, I just want to create,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But I don't think I ever had to do legal stuff. Like
No,
yeah.
but I mean, like opening the shop in Seattle, you said
Mm-hmm.
that you had to understand. Okay, you have to work clean now. You have to work this. It's like
Yeah.
all these new layers that
Right.
you
All the
weren't.
hardware type stuff I do know. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
how long does it take actually to book a session with you nowadays? How does it work?
Well, I'm booked for usually like 3 months at a time. So I like to book in quota system, same as paying tax.
Oh.
Every 3 months I make a new appointment. So, because then I don't want to know what I have to do next year. So some people book out like farther than like 9 months, 6 months, and sometimes it's the thing. Longer you book, the better you are, or something
Yeah.
like this. But I don't think it has much to do with it. I like to know what I have to do for next 3 months, but I also want to have a freedom of, for example, in the summertime, I don't want to know I have to work. Like
Yeah.
if I decide to go somewhere, I want to go.
Yeah.
So right now I am lucky enough to have that freedom. So people only make appointment up to 3 months ahead. So every 3 months I make appointment, and then I wait to the next quarter.
Yeah. Because I think also for artists, it's really important to just have a little bit of chaos, not knowing.
Yeah, for the future.
For the
yes.
future, not chaos now. This is like, I mean,
Yeah.
we have enough chaos,
Yeah.
but I mean, like to not know. I think Paulo Coelho said it. He said something very beautiful about, oh, you're afraid of chaos. Try routine for the rest of your life. That you're just locked in routine.
Yeah.
That you know what is happening with you 2 years in advance.
That's more scary, right?
Oof, I would not want that. No. And what do you have any aspirations for the future? Like in terms of, do you want to grow the studio more? Do you want to like do franchises? Do you want to make it your brand that it will come out as much as possible? What is the thing?
Well, right now I'm building a team. So we had, I have my girlfriend, she's my partner, and I have a few other artists that are with me, and they're very stable, good artists. And now I'm gathering one or two more artists from overseas also. So right now my goal is team building. I want to have, well, they're all my friends. I'm not saying I want to have, because I'm also not the owner. We are collective. So we are a group of creative artists. But I want to have a team that everybody has a different skill and everybody have different styles, but we can all feed off of each other.
Yeah.
And that's happening, And our team is starting to become quite strong, to a point where like I'm proud of them.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be a part of our team. So our next goal is to establish us as a team to the public, the first Rotterdam. I think we do have a little bit of a name in Rotterdam area, but I would like to have a feeling that, we're established enough, not for my own ego, just for our business security, also be able to do creative tattoos. You do have to have a name. So that's the first goal. The next is maybe in the future, I would like to open. Right now, we have a collective, but I want to open my own studio. Yeah.
That it's like your name, you're like the father, mother, everything of it.
Yeah, I want to have like a mom and pop shop.
Mom and pop shop.
Yeah,
Nice.
but we could have other people working, but I want to have our stuff.
Yeah.
Everything like not our way, but our taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Our home. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: if you had a chance to sit with yourself, you, Yushi, the person that you are, with all the experience that you have, to sit with Yushi that just moved to Amsterdam.
Okay.
Take yourself to 2009. What would be the advice that you would give the younger version of yourself?
To me in Amsterdam, oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's the same thing you always say to people, right? Just follow your heart, you know. I mean,
What does that mean for you, to follow your heart?
well, I think the future is always unknown, you know. Like look what happened to my life, and look what happened to Ava's life, right? You know, like it's so unpredictable,
Yeah.
you know. So the best thing you can do is, you know, just do, like, you know, what you, not just what you want to do, but, you know, what is the best for you, like, every time. Don't compromise, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. And would you actually think that you would be landing in this situation that you're in when you were in 2009, when you came here?
Did I guess it?
Yeah.
No.
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 Yeah.
So you're saying basically stay as open as possible, but also ready for change in that sense.
Yeah, you have to be flexible. Yeah.
Yeah.
My life definitely is not what I planned on. You know, obviously I was gonna move to London. You know, I always had mind of like moving to like a big city. You know, I
Yeah.
always liked big city, but I ended up in Rotterdam, which is it's a mid-sized city, but I wouldn't say it's a big one, right?
Yeah.
But I found a home. You know, I'm happy. So it's completely unexpected.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And that's actually maybe what keeps also the thing so alive and like
Yeah.
on your toes, you know?
Yeah.
Because I always think about if I knew everything in advance, oh my God, that would be,
That's boring, right?
that would be a nightmare, to be honest. Because I would not have the element of surprise
Yeah.
and the element of miracle actually happening, you know? I don't know, this comes at this time, this comes at this time, this comes at this time. And when do you think you will actually open it, this mom and pop's shop?
Well, so right now we have a collective. So it's
Yeah.
a black and gold tattoo, but the name will carry on.
The name.
But we have a contract with our building now till 2027.
Okay.
So it's going to happen after that. Yeah. We
Yeah.
just have to find a new place.
Yeah, exactly. And then like a new challenge, basically, new wind in the sails, like
Yeah.
they say, you know?
Yeah.
Are you excited about it? I mean, it's in 2 years from now, but
Yeah, I mean, of course it's fun, you know.
Yeah.
But like if you think about this housing in Holland, you know, first we have to find a place and, you know, so there's a lot of stuff that we have to do.
yeah.
But yeah, I think this is more like we want to settle in,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
And you said that you have kids, right?
Yeah.
How many?
We have two.
2. And do you, what are the ages, if I may ask? What
I have 6 years old and 9 years old.
okay, so they're really like, they're
Yeah.
young. And what is their relationship with tattooing?
I think it's so normal to them. You know, they were literally like born in a tattoo shop.
Yeah.
You know, and they grew up there. They go there like they're there almost every day. You know, after
Yeah.
school, you know, they show up. You know, so I don't even think they see tattoo as anything like unusual.
Yeah.
You know, so it seems like they're not that interested. But, you know, because they're kids, they're
Yeah.
interested in different things, you know.
Yeah.
But they look at like pictures and like they point out like some images. So they're starting to see like what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
What would be like? I mean, it's we don't know. Just like you said, it's unknown. But what would be you think your reaction if your kid comes to you one day and says, "I want to get a tattoo," and they're 12 or 13?
Wow, they're not gonna get it for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, getting a tattoo, I think that's gonna happen. But I do like it if one of them maybe want to tattoo.
At all?
No, they want to tattoo.
Want to?
That would be
Okay, to
nice.
tattoo actually.
Yeah,
to
that would be
become,
nice.
yeah.
I'm not gonna
of
force them, but
course. Yeah. It's one of these things. I mean, especially from what you're saying, your story, and I'm seeing it also with different creative endeavors. It's like it finds you. You know,
Yeah.
you find it and it finds you, and then
Yeah.
you stick to it. What would be the advice you would give actually young people that want to get a tattoo, but you know, it's not, let's say they're 16, 17, 18, they want to get a tattoo, what would be your advice?
Well, 16, maybe you shouldn't get tattooed. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I follow the code of professional tattooing. And so this is something I learned in United States. You know, I'm a traditional Japanese tattoo artist, but I do live by the code of like, you know, it's like, that's a universal code of tattoos, right? So it's age. You know, like Holland, I think you can get tattooed at 16,
Right.
I think. But I don't think you are mentally old enough to know what you want when you're 16.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about when you're 16, you don't know who you are.
No.
You know, when you're 18, you still don't know who you are, but you are responsible for your own action by the time you're 18,
Yeah.
right? So I said wait till 18. You know, might be a boring answer, but you have to know who you are first. You know, like don't go too fast. You know, don't get everything all in once. You know?
Because it's permanent also.
Yeah, but also it's you know, it's a lifetime like a hobby. You know, like you can get little by little. Like every part of the tattoo should speak about the time you got tattooed,
Yeah.
the place you are, the mindset you have. You know, it should be a written history. I always say tattoo is like a passport stamp. You know, where you've been. You know, like so like you can see like okay, you know, oh you were here at this year.
Yeah.
So that's what tattoo
That's a
is.
good one.
Yeah, even if like you know, I have a tattoo done by mostly just one artist. You know, I have a lot of small tattoos, but most of my bodies are done by one tattoo artist in Japan.
Oh,
But
okay.
even it's just the one person who's tattooing you. I've been getting tattooed by him over 20 years. So the 20 years ago when I got tattooed by him, the beginning of who I was and why I was in my head and who he was, you know, he's your tattoo artist. It's not just a pen or a robot. It's a person. You know, you
Yeah.
get tattooed from a person. So this interaction is very important.
Yeah.
You know, your relationship between you and your tattoo artist
Yeah.
is almost as big as tattoo itself. You know what I mean? So even when you have one big tattoo on your whole body, you remember, you know, okay, when I got this like part of, you know, like a dragon, something,
Yeah.
I was 22 years old, you know, I was maybe drunk, or, you know, like I was stupid. And then you get older, you know, you have a kid, so you get a tattoo that kind of reminds you of your child. You know, you have all these little memories. If you get tattooed like slowly, then you get to carry that with the tattoo. If you're 16 and maybe you have, I don't know, your parents have a lot of money or you have some money, some kids have like, you know, a lot of tattoos in like 2-3 years. That's cool. You can impress people, but that's it. You know, there is no story,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, I really like it because, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, I had an aversion towards tattoos because I thought exactly that. It's like a whim. You feel something and then you get it and then that's it. It's on you and it shows a very specific moment in your life. But then it's almost like it was waiting. And then once I got it, it was like, oh, I can start expressing myself with that. It's like, woof, just came out and came out. And funny that you said about the tattoo artist, because the tattoo artist that I did all this work with left Amsterdam.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was like, let me wait. And the last one was 2018.
Okay.
If I think about it. So it's been now 7 years that I haven't been tattooed, and it feels again like it's coming, but it's to find the right person to do it. It's like a relationship, exactly what you're saying. And there is like a very intimate thing in it also, because it's like with a needle and it's that pain and you trust the person. I'm in a very vulnerable situation. It's not just like, come on, let's do it, you know, just because it wears off. It's like there's almost like I said, an intimate thing that is happening between you and the tattoo artist because of this shared experience that happened through that
you know
pain.
yourself in a way that other people don't, you know, like share the pain, and if you're that close to somebody, you know, like you know who they are.
I don't think I've ever had something that painful on my ribs. Like it was just,
That's very painful.
it was like at some point I was done.
How many hours you said there?
It was like 12.
12 hours on the ribs?
It was just like the writing all the letters and everything was just, oh my God. And at some point he had to, because we did 3 sessions and he was like, okay, we have to stop. Your skin is just done, you know.
Of course.
And I'm still looking for that, you know, but then I need to have a lot of money.
Are you asking me for free tattoo?
No, I'm not
I have to
asking you for a
announce,
free
like,
tattoo.
I'll give you a
No,
free
no,
tattoo
no,
right
no,
now.
no, no, no. I'm
kidding.
not asking. No. But we need sponsors.
Yes, get a big sponsor.
No, but I mean, it's something that like I realize now with the conversation, it's so prevalent. It's like, oh, you create a relationship with someone, and
Yes.
that's why maybe I didn't get tattooed for so long. And it's not the financial thing. It's really like he left, and then I was like, oh, I'm very careful now. I'm
Yeah.
very like careful having someone else touch my skin and my
Yeah.
body and this.
I mean, it takes a while till you actually meet the right. Same as, girlfriend or wife, or, doesn't mean your first girlfriend's gonna be your wife. You know
No,
what
the
I mean?
mother of
So
your
this,
kid, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So the same as a tattoo artist,
yeah.
you might meet a few. I don't know who, you got tattooed from. So I'm not saying anything bad about them, but,
Yeah.
like the fact that, you still don't have an artist, which means maybe you haven't met
The
your artist
exactly,
yet,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Because it's almost like back then, it was almost like therapy. You get this like pain and everything. You come out of the studio like, oh, what did I just go through? The adrenaline, everything, and then to see it heal and the process of it. I don't have to tell you anything about you. This is your life, but it's just that beautiful process. And then also that it changes, that the tattoo changes.
Yeah.
And it becomes like there's this freshness of it in the beginning, and then it becomes a part of your body.
Yeah.
And then you forget that it's there. So
But
yeah,
you
it's
also change it with the tattoo, huh? You don't even notice it, but knowing that having the tattoo, it does a lot to your subconsciousness.
absolutely, absolutely. That's why I don't get people that put their girlfriends on their bodies. I don't understand that. It's like a recipe for just breaking up
Yeah,
at some
they'll
point.
become your ex.
Yeah, because it's like I saw this friend of mine put the name of his wife like all over his stomach, like it was. They divorced 6 months later after
Yeah.
it happened. I think. I mean, of course, it's every case to its own, but I think it has to do with like this mental pressure all of a sudden of like I
Yeah.
have your name, which is a sacred thing, just plaster on my body
Yeah.
right now. This makes everything so intense.
Yeah. Or it's
Kid,
usually sometimes it's the other way around. Like a lot of times it's a sign of insecurity. If you're not sure about this person, people try to like make tattoo as a permanent proof that I'm with her. And usually it's the sign of relationship that are breaking.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why we prefer not to do those, because we know when somebody comes to the tattoo studio asking for somebody's name, like you're probably gonna break up soon.
yeah. You book.
You're afraid to lose her or him. That's why I'm gonna put her name here.
Can you imagine you make a packet, you make a package for people. It's like, okay, you get the tattoo, then we're gonna book another session in 6 months to remove it.
Yeah,
or
that was a joke. We used to say that to customers. Okay, we charge you double for the name because one to the tattoo and one for the cover up. Yeah, we say
it's
that.
so
Yeah.
true. It's so true. It's what it is. I mean, what would be just last question? I'm so curious about what would be your advice for young tattoo artists that are starting their path right now?
Wow.
They're in the jungle.
Well, I shouldn't encourage people to tattoo now anymore because it's such a popular job for everyone. So we, as a tattoo artist, we already work. We don't want anybody coming to our industry anymore. So I shouldn't give advice, right?
Leave.
Yeah, but if I have to, let's say, what would be the best advice? I mean, you gotta do it right. Like now. So let's just, this is a typical conversation, but now like everything is so available, right? Everything is on like social media, internet. You can buy a tattoo machine on like Amazon or ball.com, and
Wow.
they'll be here tomorrow. Yeah. Back in days, we had to, find it, like artists to sell you a tattoo machine, or you have to like find like a company that sells it to you. It was like a little bit of like a hidden thing. Now it's everywhere. So I think becoming an artist, the hurdle, what do you call hurdle?
The hurdle, yeah.
Yeah, has become a lot lower.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are very, they take it too easy to start. So they quit sooner also, which is fine. If you do it for like 2-3 months and you quit, be my guest. But if you really want to become a tattoo artist, you need to do it right. So like us as, like people from the time before this generation, we always tell people, to take an apprenticeship. You learn from the artist, right? That's what everybody says. I cannot say that to everyone because I also started tattooing out of my house. This is back in the 90s. We had a different attitude because tattooing out of the home wasn't as common as now. This was like something, like it's like a very punk rock thing. It was almost like saying like fuck you to society, fuck you to the professional industry. Like I'm gonna do it my way, And but it's completely okay to start on your own. But then you have to take it serious. You're hurting people. You're, cutting people with needle. There's a blood. There's a disease.
Yeah.
There's problems. If you mess up on someone, you mess them up for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You have a consequence sometimes. So, yeah, don't think lightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, thank you so much for doing this
Of course.
podcast. I enjoyed every minute of it. I learned so much also. And I hope to also come to the studio and see you there in Rotterdam.
Yeah, please come by.
Yeah, please. I would love to. I would love to. Everybody has been listening to it. You have all the links and, of course, the beautiful shop of Yushi. And come and check us out. And I said it in the former podcast. 99% of you that are listening to us are not subscribed. You that is listening to me right now, that listen to this podcast, you're not subscribed. Why? Subscribe to us. Be a part of this community and be a part of Into the Score. And we will see you at the gig.